not mastering this emotion or not mastering this thought. Because this thought, the first thought that you get when you meet someone that's different from you, acts different from you, comes specifically from fear or judgment, you know? Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I'll be talking about of being kind, of loving everyone. Two clips, I guess, that really inspired this video, and I really wanted to bring up this topic because, I don't know, I was like, ooh, really like this. So, I'll leave the link of this video. But so for the longest time, a lot of people would always tell me that being a nice person was bad. Being a nice person was bad because people will take advantage of you, and you shouldn't. But even though I heard that, I was like, no, I want to be a nice person, right? But later, I did notice that came true, pretty much everything what they were saying, but it wasn't because I was being a nice person. It was because it was coming from an insecurity of mine, because I was striving to please everybody. I wanted to please it came from me wanting to please everybody, wanting the approval of everybody, right? So I had to take a step back because I did feel, burned out, drained. So I was like, I had to take a step back because I didn't want this to continue. So I did take a step back, and then I started to feel more confident of myself, my abilities, and not wanting to prove myself to anyone because I was confident of my capabilities. So I noticed the difference about being nice and kind. Nice is specifically coming from insecurities, while kind is not. Kind is like loving everyone, because love in its essence is not expecting anything in return. So that's when I started noticing the big difference. Because when I was nice, I was expecting something in return. I was expecting them to give me approval, to appreciate what I was doing. I was expecting something in return. And when I started being kind, I stopped expecting it. I didn't care. I just wanted to be kind, just to be kind, Because I was like, if I was them, I would want someone to do this to me, So that's when I started noticing the shift in my mind. Once, of course, for many, once I graduated and moved to a bigger city to go to college, I started to notice a humongous difference, because I was spending a lot of time with people who, how would you say, in higher income brackets, or just in more of a privileged background than me, right? So I started to notice, the difference of how they would interact with people. And I'm not saying everybody who, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, the people who I interacted with, who came, middle class and upwards, were not the kindest people, right? Not saying everybody, not pointing fingers, but weren't the kindest people. And I always and I wondered, you know what I mean? They were coming from a very cruel, I guess, mindset. And I always associate that we as human are born, animals, and we have to learn to be human. We have very primal instincts, animal instincts of being cruel, of only thinking about ourselves. Which by this I mean is when we see someone who, this why, there's a lot of bullying, when we see someone that doesn't look like us, doesn't act like us, doesn't live the life like us, doesn't speak like us, that first thought that you get in your mind, that is your animal instincts. That is your primary instincts, Because that first thought was up when we were in survival mode. When we had to be suspicious of everything surrounding us. We were trying to survive, right? And now we've come to a point where we don't need those animal brain, I would say, that animal brain, that first thought. You don't need it anymore because we are not in a survival mode anymore. But a lot of people have a tendency of not mastering this emotion or not mastering this thought, because this thought, the first thought that you get when you meet someone that's different from you, acts different from you, comes specifically from fear or judgment, you know? And when you allow yourself to continue with this thought and act on this thought, you are doing a huge disservice to humanity, because you're allowing this animal instinct, you're allowing it to take control instead of taking another path of giving empathy and compassion. Because a lot of people who could allow this thought to continue, this first thought, they follow through with this continue. They have this belief that powerless and the weak are just stepping stones to gain power, to gain money, to get materialistic things, to get what they want, to get their goals specifically. They believe that, and the only way they can do that is by stop associating the people that they're stepping over as humans. They allow them to associate them as other. And when you do that, you're doing a huge disservice on yourself and on humanity, because you are failing on society to advance by doing this. Because all you're doing is you're continuing this animal brain, which is animal brain, to evolve, and allowing this first thought to control what your actions will be, and allowing the fears and judgment to control you, which means most of your thinking and problem solving will never help humanity, because you are coming from fear and judgment instead of coming from empathy and compassion, which means you'll never be able, your thinking will never be more than just, will always lack imagination and creativity. And that's why I always think, the most smartest person, and they always associate, kindness, being kind, or loving everyone, is always the weakest person. But in reality, I feel like the kindest person is always the smartest person in that room. And to end this video, I wanted to bring this quote that I absolutely love by James Baldwin. He says, Love has never been a popular movement, and it really is held together by a few people. But every time you look around, remember this, that you are looking at yourself. You could have been that person. You could have been that monster. And you just have to remember that every day you have a choice to not be. Thank you. Bye. Have a beautiful day. Nice, beautiful week and a beautiful February. Bye.